So let me introduce myself. My name is Sriram. I'm the Chief Business Officer within LTIMindtree. And LTIMindtree is a $4 billion company. We are one of the fastest growing companies in the Tier 1 ecosystem based out of India. So I represent a business unit called Next. Next business unit is about how do you help your customers in the journey of edge to core transformation leveraging IoT technologies. So before I get into the details, I just want to share with you guys our journey, where were we and where we are headed to. So if you look at about this company Next was, L&T, as we saw, it's like a $22 billion group, which is into diverse engineering construction industry. L&T wanted to digitize this group, so they started a business called Next, which was all about rolling out IoTs across various industries and other platforms within the company. And then we acquired that company way back in July of 2021, and we branded as LTIMindtree Next. And if you look at that point in time, we are more platform centric. We had a product which was more platform centric. Our business was more oriented towards India business, and we are manufacturing centric. And we were considered as a startup within the ecosystem. But come April 2022, March 2023, we did key strategic changes. We said it is part of our scale-up strategy. We said a couple of key strategic changes. One, we said we are not a platform player. We will be a core solution provider, which includes platform plus services and operate as a full stack player. Second, we said we will not just focus just on manufacturing. If every company is a tech company, every company is a manufacturer too. The world's largest tech company, Google, manufactures phones and Apple manufactures devices. So, and as a result, what happened if today we look at, I want to take this opportunity to thank our customers and partners. We have emerged as the fastest growing unit within our company. We have scaled up both on mind share and market share, both from the analyst recognition and also from our customer base perspective. We have grown multifold in the last 12 months. And next phase of our journey, what we are looking at is called, we want to industrialize a product. We have a horizontal product. We want to take the product and industrialize the product, and we want to grow it globally. That's our next phase of journey. And now let's talk about who are we. This is a very bold proposition we want to put in, and even we debated it internally. We said, we are not IoT or Industry X.0, just we are beyond. So what does it mean to us? If you go to the next slide, we basically said, we want to be a digital transformation player for our customers. We want to be a trusted partner for our customers on their digital transformation journey of edge to core through connected, intelligent and sustainable solutions. Let me explain you what we mean by connected, intelligent, sustainable solutions, right? So, even the previous session we went through the slide where we spoke about, So even in our previous session, we spoke about the power of 5G and the underlying backbone, right? So the Internet of Technologies, the foundation block of Internet technologies consists of sensors, consists of networks. The sensors will get more sophisticated, more powerful. The network will become, ease of access to the network will also become ease. They play a robust foundation in connecting four fundamental blocks, which we call it as M3L, which we said mind, mission, material and location. Mind is any human persona that it changes or touches during the entire life cycle of this journey. It could be a worker, it could be an employee, it could be a business partner, it could be a customer. Second, mission. Any mission that moves, any mission that makes, we want to consider as part of the journey. And the third one, we wanted to call it as materials, which is basically what makes a mind and the mission relevant is a material. And the fourth paradigm thing that we want to attach is the location. So that adds the purpose of the mind, mission and material is a location. In fact, if you look at the human brain, the nervous system of human, the neurons in human, every cell of a human brain, the neurons has got one thing common, that is location embedded. If you have set of neurons that says this is how you drive a car, that neurons becomes active or relevant when you sit inside a car. Same way the mind, mission, material, location becomes relevant with a four fundamental ecosystem, and the foundation block will connect this. Our strategy or our vision is to connect this ecosystem and reduce and produce line of sight. Thereby, we are able to provide you resiliency and effectiveness. Second, we want to leverage this foundation connectivity block to scale it into an intelligent environment where we use data just not for decision, but we use data for differentiating a business. Third, we also want to be sustainable with a planet-centric approach. So with that, if you look at it, that is our 4 fundamental block of what we said is connected, intelligent, sustainable. So for us, it is about getting the right mind or the right skill at the right machine at the right time, at the right material at the right place, at right cost at the right location. So it is about inclusivity is our strategy. Now, if you look at why, we decided to design our strategy based on why rather than what. Then we enhanced it and said we look at both why and what. Today, if you look at any customer who is trying to do a digital transformation, there are only 3 reasons why he does digital transformation. 1, they want to rethink their industry. They want to see how they can build a complete line of sight, how they can build a more effective operating model. Second set of customers who wants to reimagine their industry, which is basically how do I make my customers from a customer base to a loyal customer base by leveraging on experience as a pivot. Third is customers who wants to reinvent their business. They want to create new products, new services and new revenue streams. So if you look at it like, the first pivot, if you go down, I'll probably take more examples to explain our first pivot. So if you think what is rethink industry is, like, it is a journey of making a material to a product. So today, if you look at it, how do you produce a line of sight across mind, machine, material and location? And how do I use the line of sight to drive transparency in my ecosystem? How do I use my transparency to build efficiency in my system? How do I scale the efficiency to resiliency in the system? And how do I make it effective in my environment? That's a journey of anybody who wants to rethink industry. And the most important point that you can take is that today, manufacturing or supply chain location is not just based on cost. It is also the resiliency of the supply chain, and the plant location has become very important, and that's what COVID taught us. And second thing, today the customers are saying very interesting phenomena. Assembly line is my new supply chain. They want it to be so seamless, so integrated, so connected. And the third block is that, if you look at it, the manufacturing whole, it cannot be considered anymore as a subset of a society. It has to become the core of the society. Now, if you also, that is one reason we spoke about connected ecosystem. And if you go on the further, right, sustainability has become more important. Go to the previous slide. The sustainability has become more important. It is no more profitability. It is about prosperity. As much as important business thrive for the top line and bottom line, there's a new line that is emerging called as a green line, which is about how do I keep the sustainability at core of everything that I do. And from that perspective, if you look at it, the world's metropolitans occupies 3% of the earth space, and they produce close to 75% of the carbon, and 80% of the energy consumption is consumed by the metropolitans. And we took an inspiration to explain the story from a dragonfly. So if you look at dragonfly, today scientists are trying to leverage the dragonfly's ability to fly, to build robots based on the dragonfly's ability, because the dragonfly's 4 wings can fly independently in multiple directions. So they can take 6 directions of flight. Second thing, dragonfly is so eco-conscious environment. Dragonfly thrives on clean water and clean oxygen. So ecology is used as a guide to measure the environment. Third, the dragonfly also keeps away the parasites like, mosquitoes, other things, they keep it away. So it has a flavor of sustainability. But the most important inspiration that we drew is from the eye of a dragonfly called as a compound eye. So if you look at a dragonfly's eye, there are multiple cells. Each cell is fixed, unidirectional. They are no way in comparison with the human eye. But together, the compound eye can provide a 360-degree view of the entire enterprise. So if you apply the same analogy to enterprise, there are multiple sensors. Those sensors can pick up data. All about is that how do you connect the data? How do I scale the data further to say intelligence? Again, data for decisions to data for differentiation. So that's our inspiration. And if you take an industry example, Domino's is not just a restaurant chain, but it is a connected chain with transparency. Right from the moment you place an order to the moment it is delivered, you have a line of sight from a customer angle. So the second thing, the interesting thing I want to talk about is what we do. As we know, everybody is striving to get into green hydrogen. And green hydrogen is the most efficient and most powerful zero carbon capabilities. I'll talk about why hydrogen, right? Why green hydrogen? Hydrogen is 4 times calorific value than any other natural fossil. And secondly, if you look at the hydrogen footprint, if you use renewable sources, that's what is called green hydrogen. And hydrogen is the most abundantly available element in the whole world. 72% of the world is occupied by water. For every unit of oxygen, there are 2 units of hydrogen. So green hydrogen has become, even the US government, they want to use more of green hydrogen. So this is one of our customers who's a huge manufacturing conglomerate wanted to adopt a green hydrogen. So if you look at the life cycle of green hydrogen, you first basically have solar power, convert that into electricity, which gets stored in a battery. From the battery, you pass it on to water. Good clean water is not a good conductor of electricity. So you basically pass potassium hydroxide as an alkalizer, conduct electricity, and then you divide it into hydrogen and oxygen. And once you split into hydrogen and oxygen, storing hydrogen is very difficult. Until refrigerated, it cannot be stored. So hydrogen you need to produce, and hydrogen to burn, you need to mix with the natural fossil fuels. So you need to mix with that and then to produce a furnace equipment. The whole equation I spoke about, right from solar to battery to alkalizers to the powering of the unit, mixing, everything is sensorized and maintained for it. And today we save about 300 metric tons of carbon. So that's one example of where we have built a connected ecosystem, and is about how we are rethinking industry for one of our customers. So the next strategy is about customers who wants to reimagine their industries, right? So today, experience is not incidental or junctural. Customers don't want to have experience at every junctural coordinate. They don't want to have it as a customer experience or a business experience or an employee experience. They want to have it as together as a holistic total experience. The previous slide, you got the right one. Now, if you look at what we have done, is that then the world is also evolving. Physical to digital is becoming physical to digital to virtual. Today we own things virtually, transact digitally, and access it physically. So that's one major changing thing. And the second thing, if you look at it, is that it is no more a business of using software or building software. It's about business of being as a software. And from that paradigm shift, if you look at it, it's about a journey of how do you convert a product to a brand. And the best industry example that you could think of is about Zelle or ZocDoc. I think it's ZocDoc or Uber Eats. ZocDoc is not a mobile scheduling app. ZocDoc changed the experience or reimagined the experience of a patient and a healthcare provider. Same example, if you take Uber Eats. Uber Eats is not a mobile app for food delivery. Uber Eats reimagined and transformed the business of addressing your cravings irrespective of a place and time. Now, let me talk about an industry example to what we have done for a customer, right? So our customer is one of the world's largest consumer product company. They are developing a lot of connected products. So one of their connected health hygiene products is a toothbrush. So when you use a toothbrush, they basically collect data on how you use it and who uses it. Now, they want to take this intelligence and spread it across the ecosystem. Thereby, they can evolve a total experience. What they did is that if you brush your teeth, they want to capture the data and go to the digital marketing team and say, hey, this user is from East Coast. I think it needs more personalization of softer bristles. And they want to use the same data and give it to their marketing team to say, how can you go and cross-sell because the user seems to have more stains on his teeth or his gums are weak. So they are basically using a data which is part of your connected ecosystem to evolve a strategy of R&D and also the marketing value chain. So now moving on to the next one example is that what is the third pivot that we have is about re-architect the business or basically reinvent the industry. Today, this is basically new products, new revenue streams, new services, right? And today, if you look at the most important thing about it is industry convergence. Automotive to financial institutions to becoming financial industry is a huge phenomenal change. And second thing, if you look at it, this is something which I like. It is no more about me, it is about we. One of the largest CPG customers manufacturers have said, I am going to construct the entire value chain with all startups and boutique firms. So if you look at this example further down, right, Zelle or Venmo, we no more say about can I transact you money. Zelle or Venmo reinvented the business of how do you exchange money between your friends and families without any bank affiliations. And let me talk about an example of what we do for one of our customers. So there is it's one of the world's largest publicly listed P&C insurance company. So they were insuring their products, and as you know, majority of the insurance companies in America are investing on IoTs. So they also invested on IoTs. So we started our relationship with them as a support to see how we can scale it up. Now we are helping them develop newer products, newer service lines where they can variabilize their entire policy plan based on the usage. It's not about internet of ownership, it is about internet of how you use it. So basically we're helping them to say, okay, this user only takes policy on seasonal aspect, can increase the premium for him. This asset has a failure rate, can I increase for him? This user lives in an incremental, in an elevated area, the lead composition is high, can I send them preventive recommendations? So we're helping that insurance customer redefine insurance from a risk indemnification to a continuous customer engagement through a risk mitigation management strategy. So if I go to the next slide, I just want to summarize our strategy. Core summary of the strategy is that mind, machine, material, locations, if I reintegrate, helps me to rethink the industry. And if I try to reconfigure the relationship of mind, machine, material, and location, helps me to reimagine the industry. If I re-architect these 4 components, it leads to reinvent the industry. So with this, our strategy, if I want to take another example and summarize the story for you guys. So if you look at an example of, Melbourne city, this is a beautiful city of Melbourne. So in Melbourne, if you look at it, they had a big drought and they basically wanted to see how they can increase the canopy cover of the city. And then they basically wanted to plant more trees within the city. And they want to make sure that it becomes a community activity, not an individual activity. So basically what they did is, they thought that's the best way to combat climate change. So they built, as a first step, they built interactive map of all trees, so people can go and click what is the age of the tree, what is the life of the tree, what species, so on and so forth. But things changed so dynamically. They assigned each tree with an email address. People started sending emails to every tree, and if you'll see the trees, if you go down further, these are the trees. People started expressing their love. People said, I'm sorry my dog peed. People started saying that their anger, their joy, their happiness, their cheer, that's what they did it. So they basically called unprecedented yet positive. The whole purpose of putting an email address to a tree was to make sure people tell them there is a dangerous condition or there is an infection on the tree. That's what they wanted to use, but it changed differently. Now, if you take the same example and then say they are now deployed IoTs to those trees, those IoTs can capture the humidity level, CO2 level, water level, noise level, pollution level, and give them the data. If we establish a platform for connecting this data, that goes to my pivot of rethink industry. If they use the same data to reimagine the industry of connecting all those ecosystems together, for example, if there is an infection, can I trigger a drone-based pesticide release? Or can I send a separate group automated for doing it? If there's a caterpillar infection, can I do that? Third thing, that is my reimagine pivot. The third pivot is about how do I reinvent that industry. The example of reinvent industry in this situation is that if the township is able to produce new product, new service line, without offering, where they could come back and say, hey, I can help you variabilize. If somebody is asking for an industry approval in that area, the township can use the data and say, this will be the new tax. Or somebody is saying for an extension, can I use the data and say whether I can give an extension of the working hours. So it's all data driven, no more intuition, intelligence driven. And having said this example, I just quickly want to summarize so I spoke about why is our strategy. Now let me take about how are you going to address this. Keep going down to further. So when we looked at all these pivots, we just thought, there is multiple offerings, multiple products, multiple technologies, but we want to summarize into very simple 5 key offerings. We said the first offering, we call it as connected platform, which basically provides an interface for the mind, machine, material, and the location. And yesterday there was an interesting panel discussion which Amit was there. So at that point in time, we discussed about how do I scale those Internet of Interfaces. There's going to be multiple platforms and they're going to continue to grow. How do I leverage those platforms, data and silos to data together? That's the Internet of Interfaces. The second thing is, so the principle there for the Internet of Interfaces is about integrativity. Second thing, as my environment changes, how do I adapt to the changes? How do I operationalize the changes? How do I move from an expertise, which is people driven, to an experience driven approach, which is what we call it as a connected operations principle, which we call it as Internet of Resiliency. Then the third block is about connected context. I think the previous session was just about the EMS and the first aid with the 5G, how it works, right? So in the connected context example, the mind, machine, material, location changes by industry. If I don't authenticate in my product, in my articulation, then I'm not doing justice to the customer. The best example is, if you take the mind, machine, material, location to a hospital, the mind is a patient, the healthcare provider. The machine is basically their hospital environment facility and also the machinery that you use for patient care. The material is what you use as a pharmacy. if I don't show that kind of an empathy for every one of our solution, it's about industrialization of the horizontal product, then I'm not standing relevant to the customer. We are making customer go through a journey than a prepackaged journey. So that we call it as Internet of driving your business differentiation. Fourth one is about connected experience. Experience cannot be unicentric. It has to be multicentric, which we call it as the Internet of experience. Then the fifth block, which we call it as connected ecosystem, we will build an ecosystem of partners with sustainability at core, AI at core, and autonomous portions at core is where we want to evolve as a direction. So these are our simplified 5 offerings. We don't have tons of offering, and we'll industrialize it, we'll variabilize it, we'll follow a principle of integrity and adaptiveness to our customers. Now, I just want to take a couple of slides more to explain. Let's go on further. So I just want to explain one case studies for each one of this. So this, we feel very proud about this. India, 50% of the population in 2019 does not have quality of water. Only 17% of the urban population in India has got access to quality water. There are 130,000 under-5 child mortalities related to water quality. Then the most important thing is school absenteeism and under-5 death reasons. Top 5, I think top 4 is water-related contamination. So the government of India launched a program across India, across the urbans, to say, I will ensure there is a water being served at people, quality of water, and ensure accessibility to the water. And I will use only clean, renewable sources for doing the same. So we were chosen as a partners for one of the states. And in the journey, if you look at it, today, there are natural sources of water, resources for water. Every village, we have done an AI/ML based platform where we have built a map of connectivity. We know what is the water capacity available at the source, what is the water capacity required at the target. We use AI/ML algorithms to decide what is the sourcing, where can I source faster, cheaper, efficient. We also measure quality. We also measure the throughput and the distribution of it. And also based on local festives, local weather conditions, we decide the input and output of this. Now, if you look at what we have touched is that 15,000 connected assets. We used a geospatial capabilities to build a live map of 11,000 miles in India, and we are touching lives of 4.8 million people, and we handle 377 million liters per day. And today, if you look at it, there is a reduction in waste. That's the most important thing in India, because water wastage, when there is a scarcity and you waste it, it's a crime and bidirectional. So today, that's one biggest thing that we have done, and we are touching 650,000 house connections. So we feel proud about it, and we also want to thank the IoT Evolution team for acknowledging this as one of the best projects of this year. Now, I want to go to the next example. So this is for a midstream major, North America based midstream major. We have deployed a platform. They are disparate platforms across their ecosystem. So we have deployed platforms across 60 plants, 4,500 miles, and 400 compressor stations. We have instrumented the entire ecosystem, and on top of that, we also built an end-to-end visibility, and also we run them the operations of ensuring there is availability and mapping of their, the motor throughputs to the gasoline level that's available in this. And this project, we feel proud to say, this is the only American oil and gas firm included in the World Economic Forum Digital Lighthouse project. 50 million net increase, and this is publicly available customer. I'll just go to the next slide. I'll just take the last 1 minute and then call it up. So this is another customer, world's largest battery and EV manufacturer. So basically, the company wanted to move away because they thought, product-based services can I do services to increase my top line? Can I develop a new business of delivering services? Can I also control my loss prevention, the damages warranty cycle efficiently? Thereby, I can grow my top line, I can reduce my bottom line too. So we help them right from the journey of sensorization of the battery. It was a product to concept realization journey, sensorization of the battery. Also on top of that, we also ensured that how do you put this one, how do you harness this one, how do you make sure it is temperature control, environment available. And then we also help them to industrialize it. For example, the battery of electric car requires the signals to be picked up in 4 milliseconds. So the sensor, higher the sensitivity, the cost goes up. So industrialization is a problem. If I store data, then the cost goes up. So it's about how do I industrialize it, how do I standardize it and scale it. It's a journey what we have done. And the last example, if you want to touch upon, is that one, the next one. So if you look at the next one, We are touching lives of 2 billion people every day. This is for one of the world's largest elevator company. They understood the services business is the way forward, and the service business also creates some stickiness and helps them to cross-sell the services. So they want to develop a services business not just for their products, also for their competition product. We help them develop the platform. We help them to develop the operations. Today, we are helping them do it on Metaverse. We have developed apps, user persona, other things. With that, I'll call it a day. Thank you. Thanks for this one.